All right, welcome back. We will reconvene the meeting where we left off. Item 6.8, our 10:30 a.m. item, consideration of the June 30th, 2024 report of I am so sorry, 6.7, 10 a.m. A, consideration of update on the remodel of the National Guard Armory to the Lake County Sheriff Administration Facility, and B, consideration of plans and specifications for the remodel of the National Guard Armory to the Lake County Sheriff Administration Facility, and authorize the Public Services Director to advertise for bids. And in front of us, we have Director Ewing of Public Services and Under Sheriff Bingham from the Sheriff's Department.
All right. Well, good morning. Lars Ewing, Public Services Director. Appreciate the time here. There's two items with this agenda item: the update and the approval and plans and specs. And item B is typically for a capital improvement project, a very routine process. We come to the board for approval, or it may be on consent. Given what this project is, felt it was important to not only request approval of the plans and specifications and the drawings, but provide an update. So I'm joined not only by Under Sheriff Bingham, but the architect of record, Patty Esposito with Dewberry, and her team are available. They will walk through a relatively brief presentation, and then Under Sheriff Bingham and I are certainly here available to answer any questions. Under Sheriff Bingham primarily on the operational side and the needs of the project, and any other questions, we can certainly have the right folks here to answer them. So I'd like to turn it over to Patty, and she'll walk through the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Good morning, everybody, and thanks for having us. Before we walk through the floor plan, I just wanted to give you kind of a brief history of how we got to the floor plan. So on May 2nd, 2023, we had a kickoff meeting with the county's representative and the sheriff's stakeholders. And as a team, we developed a list of critical success factors. What were the most important things that this facility needed to achieve for us to all consider the project successful? The list included, planning for the future, 30 to 40 years, flexible space for future staffing, a professional workspace with natural daylight. The facility had to be public facing and inviting, the finishes durable, and of course be budget conscious. We then met with each department stakeholder to understand their current and future needs. With this information, we developed an overall program and the required square footages that each department required. What we learned was that the existing footprint was not large enough to accommodate all the departments and their program. And so it was decided that the EOC would remain in its current location and the plans to expand that facility at a later date. This decision allowed us to fit the remaining program within the existing square footage. However, it did not allow for future growth. To solve this problem, we added an additional second floor to an existing large open room that was available. And this second story now can be used for training and other larger events, but more importantly, will be available for future growth. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jimmy, and he's going to walk through how the final floor plan's laid out.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jimmy Ng with Dewberry Architect. So as everyone can see on the screen, this is an overall site plan of the projects. Majority of the existing features on the site will remain as is. On Plan West, which is where my cursor is, all these are public parking stalls. Only work we are proposing to do are to address existing ADA issues, which is repaving and restriping existing accessible parking stall. And then on Plan East, this is a secured parking area serving all the officers, staff, and any personnel who will be using the admin facilities. The light gray you're seeing on screen is the existing square footage of the existing footprints of the buildings, while the dark gray is an building addition, which will be housing the new elevator, bringing anyone to travel between first and second floors, as well as supporting rooms, which is fire riser rooms or elevator machine rooms. Going to the next slide, to our floor plans. So this is a color-coded floor plan we put together to differentiate different departments. So starting from where my cursor is, which is the public lobby area, and this is the only publicly accessible space. Going clockwise, we have our record and civil department. Next one, we have admin office, which will be having these sheriff office, individuals office space, as well as a shared conference room. Then we have our finance department. Next one will be criminal investigations department. As you can see, there are 5 individual offices, and then this big block here will have about 12 workstation within an open office setup. Also, there will be interview rooms and supporting offices. Going plan south, we'll have evidence processing and storage area. There will be processing lab, evidence viewing area, and individual supporting offices. Moving along, the yellow will be shared space, which essentially will be multi-occupant restroom, locker rooms, fitness room, and copy and printing station. Last but not least, we have the enforcement and patrol departments. There will be briefing rooms, individual workstation, and a multi-occupant office space. As Patty mentioned, we'll be adding a second floor within the existing buildings. And right now, we're only showing it as an open space, but there's opportunity for it to be training rooms or expand into more office space. Next slide will be some rendering we put together to showcase different finishes.
So as we developed what this facility was going to look like, we went back to the project's critical success factors. We brought in professional, durable, and timeless finishes. The public, the look of it is inviting and gives the public a clear direction. And we are looking forward to working with the sheriffs to display their memorabilia on the wall, the front-facing wall there. Next slide. The break room captured an existing skylight, so it's nice and with natural light. It was designed as a space for employees to congregate and share a common space with all the departments. It falls next to the briefing room, which can be opened up for special celebrations or potlucks or any kind of event that they want to share together. And then the last image here is a view of that open office area, the detective area, and it demonstrates how we brought in the natural light and also into the interior offices. Again, we really focused on professional, durable, and timeless finishes. And this is kind of the conclusion of our presentation, but I would like to add that this project was a result, of true collaboration and never losing sight of the goals and that we all set, at the beginning at the first kickoff meeting.
Thank you very much. Anything else?
Not on the update, no. I certainly expect some questions. We have not talked about costs here. I think it's important to just reference where we are with the cost estimate. We have an estimate from Dewberry. They have a sub-consultant who that's what they do. They prepare cost estimates among other things. We also have another consultant on board who's helping with construction management, capital project management. They are not here, but they are have prepared an estimate of their own. Their cost estimate is lower, which is encouraging. As we get further along, we will certainly be dialing that down. But the cost estimate for construction shown is about $16.5 million. That includes right around a $1 million contingency, and it includes solar, which is not something that was talked about here, but that cost is factored in. The other costs, soft costs, we have design costs, construction management costs, furnishings, fixtures, and equipment is there as well, and audiovisual. So there's some other costs that are not included in that construction cost estimate. So we're looking at right around $20 million cost estimate. We talked about the second story. I want to make sure that we're clear on what that is. It's not an extension. We're not going above and higher than the existing roof. It's really a mezzanine within the existing Armory bay. There were two options that were prepared originally. Well, there were more than two, but but most recently we had a mezzanine. We needed the space for expansion. There was consideration given to fully building out the mezzanine for future office space, or simply building it as a shell and having the space available for the future. In consultation with Under Sheriff Bingham and his staff, it was determined that the shell, leaving it as for future use, would be, number one, the biggest benefit now, and number two, more cost effective. It would be saving about $1.5 million. So it's important to note that the mezzanine is, number one, not higher than the roof. We're not building it, truly a second story. For the purposes of the code, a building code, it is considered that. So there's factors associated with that for an elevator and fire suppression systems. But what is the second story? I thought it was important to note that, and that it is likely to be used as an assembly area, among other things, but not built out as office space.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any comments or questions? Supervisor Green?
Well, just to follow up on that, I guess it would make sense to do the shell now before you put all the nice, pretty offices under the shell into place. Is that it? If we're going to phase it, we have to phase it at this point? Because I guess the alternative would be we could do a lot of furnishings and fixtures with the money we would put into the shell construction. So I guess you've identified needs in the department that will facilitate the need to grow into that space, but
I think it also,
how committed are you to that growth, and do we need this second or mezzanine, whatever you want to call it? Do we need the shell at this point in the project?
We considered that when we were doing the design and space needs assessment, and we determined that we would have that second story. And number one, two reasons is that in the future, in 10 or 15 years, if construction was needed for that second story, we'd have to completely upend the operations of the sheriff's office to do that construction, knowing that this is a 30, 40-year building that we are going to need space in the future to move into. So building that now, we would not have to interrupt the operations of the sheriff's office to expand that usable space. And then also looking at that, having that second story, it's not going to be an unused space. Our intention for that is to have classroom area up there where we can have training classes. Right now, when we have training classes, like recently we just had a principal policing class for the last week, where we sent law enforcement officers from all over Lake County, probation, and out of county to training. We're scrambling for spaces to hold that many people. Where when we build this and we have that second story space, we can hold those training classes right at the sheriff's office. And then of course that space would be open and available to all county staff. So if CDD or any other county departments were going to have a large training, we would now have a large area to have that training and host that training here in Lake County, and not have to look for venues outside of county departments and county buildings to hold those trainings and those meetings. We would have that space available in the sheriff's office for the next 10, 15, 20 years until we needed to move into that space. So that was the consideration and the reasoning for the second story and building that out.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. What is your current square footage at this moment in time in your main office? Approximately.
I should have came prepared with that information. I believe it is, I want to say 16 to 17,000 square feet, where this is going to give us a little over 26,000 square feet with that second story. So we're increasing our square footage significantly by moving into this building and adding that second story.
Right. And I think that if you had built this even 2 or 3 years ago, the cost would have been even less. So waiting for the second floor to be built out rather than doing it right now, we can only anticipate that cost will only increase as time goes on. So I think knowing and understanding what growth looks like, we know that we have some population growth projections, which results in greater needs of law enforcement. And so I think that all of those things make sense. Just real quick to talk about the second floor, obviously you mentioned the elevator. It looks like there's 2 separate staircase accesses on both sides, as well as the elevator. Am I correct to that?
That is correct.
Okay. And then just last thing, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm projecting the voice of Chief Cepeda in my own mind. I see there's a lot of greenscape along the side of the building. just seems like that goes against like our standard code of the first 5 or 10 feet is not supposed to have burnable content. And this is meant to be so that when there is a fire, you're in a safer location to be able to organize and do all those things. So when I saw that, it just kind of jumped out at me as not necessarily, I get it, you're surrounded by concrete and asphalt, but at the same time, I just was wanting to ask the question.
So landscaping is not part of our project scope, and the greenscape that we're seeing on screen, we're just showcasing existing condition of the site.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, we were off. Yeah, and so it's important to note that this presentation is obviously very high level. We have, I think there's about 100-sheet plan set that really goes behind this, that it does have a landscape plan on there, and it would certainly be done within the fire code. That's certainly the fire marshal, as well as Lakeport Fire Protection District would be reviewing the plans and approving.
And I'm also assuming, because there's a lot of details within, like you were saying, the furnishings and all that, I'm assuming that the technology that we're going to install as far as how to access security cameras, all those things, we're looking at newer-ish technology rather than something that's a little bit older, just to make sure that we have the latest and greatest to keep you guys safe, to keep the building secure, because you have some really important documents and evidence in there. All of those things are being applied.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. We're looking at upgrading our door key card lock systems, camera systems, and our evidence facility alarms to modernize them from what we currently have.
Perfect. So those are all the questions that I had. Thank you so much for the presentation and bringing this to us as an update. And it sounds like from the memo that this was a necessary step in order to move forward with the approval of the concept.
It is, and it's also important to note the timing on this associated with ARPA funding has a deadline of commitment of funds by the end of this calendar year, which is why we're progressing to where we are. We don't have the financing lined up, which was referenced in the memo, and we will be including. It's already in the specifications in the notice to contractors when the potential bidders, they will be put on notice that an award will be contingent upon appropriations at the county level. So just to make sure that they're aware of that.
Perfect. Apologize, Supervisor Simon, I didn't see your pen.
That's all right, I just put it up there. So obviously in support of the whole project, obviously the second level, I think doing it right now is the most important thing we can do. I'd like to see the whole project built out. We're not ready for that yet, I guess, but in complete support of that, because we know a challenge it is in the county's budgets to do these. We've done retrofits for CDD, we've gone through these projects, and it's just finding the funding. So as much as we can get done right now in complete support of that, and that was my question too, where we're at with the financing. I know it's not completely part of it, but looking forward, I just see admin says working on it. So the sooner we get it back, the better, I think, as far as we move forward there. And I'd like to see if we're taking a two-step process, because ARPA funds do need to be used now, where we can move forward with the stuff, or how are we doing it?
So we're admin, treasurer, tax collector, and then auditor controller. We're all working with our bond counsel and disclosure counsel about issuing the bond. So we're going through the process right now. Once that is locked down, this is a one-phase approach.
Okay.
It was possible of broken down to 2 phases, but that's when general fund had to try to find $20 million that wasn't all there.
Oh, I guess my comment was, if there were ARPA funds that could be used on the project to get it, just keep it rolling right along while the financing was going. So I guess that was my comment there. I don't want anything slowing it down while we're waiting for the bond financing or anything. It doesn't seem like it is, but I just wanted to make the comment.
It would not slow it down, no.
Excellent.
That is definitely not the plan. We have a deadline.
Yeah. And once again, like I said, when we look at construction projects through it, Lake County, we got the courthouse going in, we got the jail or the armory being redone now, got a new sheriff coming on board next year. I think it's just a great opportunity for us to really look at these big projects in a different way. Obviously, this is the first one, and completely supportive of making sure we get that done. Hopefully it can be voted on before January 7th. I guess that's my comment also.
It will be far before then.
Nice.
And just real quick, if I can ask, I believe it's Ms. Esposito that's sharing the screen. If you can go back to the detective room. And then it was just to, in the actual picture where it shows the
You mean the
detective
image,
room.
right?
Yeah, the last
There you
picture.
go.
I think that shows off the mezzanine because it looks like there's some windows up there where maybe some of the training room or office space would be able to see what's going on or whatnot. And so I think that was a good picture to kind of show off what it's going to look like and the fact that you're not raising the roof. It's just doing exactly what's already there and utilizing it to the best. I'm glad you mentioned solar panels, and I know that's been a concept that's always been a part of this. I have worries about the cost of energy for this building, and so the solar panels will hopefully offset that. Hopefully enough will be installed to offset it as much as possible, if not completely. But seeing those high ceilings, keeping things warm, especially during the winter where the hot air goes up, I'm always concerned about what that cost might look like. So hopefully the solar panels will be enough. I don't know if you plan on doing battery backup in order. I know typically our jail and our other facilities have that, if that's involved or if that's going to be a separate thing.
Yeah, it would be there for the, whether through a emergency standby or through the battery backup. It's certainly planned, and that's something that Patty and I will be working, because the current plans do not include the solar panels, because that design was not a part of the design originally, primarily because of cost concerns. But recognizing that the cost estimates are actually lower than they were originally, because we know more about the project, and so the costs can be further refined and known. So with lower cost estimates, we were able to add in solar into the scope of the project, and so Patty and her team are working on that right now.
And hopefully the self-generating incentive program, the SCHIP program at the state level might be able to help out with that.
We'll look into that.
That would be great. If there's nothing further from board members, let's open it up for public comment. And if it's possible to turn off the share, please. Thank you. I see nobody getting up in the chain. Oh, please come on up. Hello.
Hi. What's your plan for the HVAC on this?
We're not using the existing HVAC. It'll be a new system.
What kind of system?
I think it's a VH. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm not the mechanical engineer on the project.
Is it going to be a heat pump, mini splits? Is it going to be a forced air? What's the plan?
Sir, why don't we get your name, and then we'll follow up.
Oh.
With you. She's the lead architect on it.
Malcolm Dunshee, hi.
Okay.
What's your name?
Lars Ewing, Public Service.
Hi, Lars.
Director. She mentioned VRF, and I believe that is a mix between a heat pump and a mini split. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a mechanical engineer, but we'll follow up. If you get your contact information to me, we can let you know some information about it.
Yeah, it's just so much more energy efficient than forced air and resistant heat and compressing. You understand this, right?
Well, slightly, but I'll ensure that we follow up with you.
Yeah, because when you go to solar, the other half of the equation, obviously, you're generating. Now you need to be efficient with your use.
And I say slightly because, not being a mechanical engineer, I don't want to quote anything incorrectly here. So we'll, again, get your information to us, and then we can let you know.
It'll be posted publicly, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We have, you're welcome to come by.
It's just a
You're welcome to come
comment
by
on
my
my
office
part.
right after this, and you can look at the plans, in fact.
It's just my comment as a 40-year licensed contractor. Hey, let's be efficient here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your comment. And I had a hand up, but it disappeared. And if it doesn't come back up, then I will go ahead and close public comment and bring it back to the board. If I remember correctly, there was no recommended action on this.
We have to
There
approve
is.
the plan.
There was one of them that didn't have one, but I know we're supposed to
I'll
approve.
move to approve the plans and specifications for the remodel of the National Guard Armory to the Lake County Sheriff Administration facility, and authorize the Public Services Director / Assistant Purchasing Agent to advertise for bids.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Looking forward to the next steps.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.